This year I've read 246 books out of 150. I was almost to 250, but it didn't quite work out. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and look at the actual goal, my year 2022. It hasn't quite updated because I finished the last book today. I've read 246 books, 66,000 pages. The shortest book I read was Freckle Juice by Judy Blume, 40 pages. A really cute story about someone trying to get freckles. I also really discovered Penelope Douglas this year. Nightfall being my longest book of the Devil's Night series. One of my favorite series this year that I have read. Spicy content, morally gray characters. I really enjoyed it. Average length of pages 271. Most shelved book 1984. Very eerie way to start the year. Least shelved book. I'm Oxychloride X, I guess. 0 people also shelved this. My average rating 3.6. Highest rated on Goodreads is Gray Veil. Now, this is part of the Akarne series by Lynette Noni, or Noni. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I truly enjoyed this series. It's one of my absolute favorites this year. I only got up to the 4th book, and I believe there's 6. Fantasy story about a girl who somehow ends up in a different reality, and she starts going to this school. It's amazing. I can't recommend this series enough. It's the only Grey Veil is the only book that actually got tears out of me and an extreme emotional reaction out of me. And books rarely get an emotional reaction out of me. So that's one of my favorites this year. The Finish Line was the book that I started in 2021 and finished it at the beginning of this year. I was really focused on getting quotes, and I thought this was a really great quote. It's a question that that plagues me often: the existence of the afterlife. And has since my parents died, a question I struggle with daily, mostly due to guilt. But because if we truly look upon and those who've passed are able to hear us, my confession is this: I haven't spoken a word to my brother since he died. Every day I wonder if he waits for a word from me. And even with that guilt that he might be waiting, I can't find the words. I don't know if I ever will. That quote really struck me, even though I only rated The Finish Line a 3 because I didn't really like the way it wrapped up at the end. I preferred a different ending, and I'm not trying to spoil anything. So hopefully this doesn't spoil it, but this quote really spoke to me because if you have lost anyone at all, it's almost like you lose your words, and it just really spoke to me. And you wonder if they're waiting for you to talk to them. So it really did. So here are my books. We Soldier Souls by Grady Hendrix was amazing. I think it was my favorite read of the year. Gruesome, brutal, an amazing story that included adventure and action, and it was just go 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 from the minute you started with mixes of horror and rock and roll, and it was just completely amazing. It's my absolutely favorite Grady Hendrix story, and I've read a few. So I've read My Best Friend's Exorcism. I've read the Southern Book Club. I've read Horror Store. I've read quite a few, but this one is my absolute favorite. I finished the Vampire Academy series this year, which is YA goodness, but I really enjoyed it. Punk 57 was another favorite for me. Twisted relationship, really kind of awful, but also guilty pleasure for me. Basically, a couple characters have been pen pals since they were in middle school, and eventually they get around to meeting, and like drama ensues. It's just really good. I don't want to give away too much because I went in blind, and like I said, my love for Penelope Douglas really um, developed this year. I love morally gray characters. Let's see what else. Here we got some more of the series I was talking about before, the Devil's Night series, Haunting of Bryn Wilder by Wendy Webb. So I've actually heard a lot of people give The Haunting of Bryn Wilder really low reviews and bad reviews. And I went into it knowing that it wasn't like an actual like haunting, like spooky. There are some paranormal vibes to it, but it's more dealing with, I don't want to give it away because I feel like that's what makes it beautiful. Kind of with grief. But I thought it was very well written, and the way it's described, and the way the characters piece things together. I don't want to spoil the ending, but I really enjoyed the ending. If you've read it, let's talk about it in the comments below. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing. A great portrayal of grief and lives and past, present, and future. If you read it, you know what I mean. Let's see what else we got. Read a lot of suspense this year, a lot of romance. Um, More Penelope Douglas. You can see these are all the stories that I've read. If you see something that you're interested in, like hearing more about, please do leave it in the comments. I started Savage Lands, and it started out pretty good. I really enjoyed it, but then like as the series progressed, it just kept going, and it felt like it should have ended a long time ago, and it got more and more cheesy for me, and it it was really hard for me to continue and finish it, but I did. Credence, very taboo. Romance, basically, this girl moves in with her step uncle and her step cousins, and romance ensues with all of them. This was another one of my favorite cozy reads, Dead and Breakfast. From what I remember, because it's been a while, it's about a girl and her grandma, and they open up a B&B, and it happens to be haunted, and they solve little mysteries together. I thought it was really sweet. I enjoyed The Quarter Storm by Veronica Henry. Just love the vibes of New Orleans, and basically it's a mystery about someone who gets killed, and they have to figure out who did it, because it's looking very bad for their community. And yeah, I think there's a sequel out for it, or a second book out for it, and I need to pick that one up. It's really good. War of Two Queens, I really enjoyed it. I love Jennifer Almentrout. What else we got here? Haunting Adeline, I liked it, but I don't know. I didn't really like the second one as much because I just didn't like all the subject matter that was in it. We've got a lot of cozy mysteries. The stories that Julian tells is a whole series. It's really funny, really cute read for younger readers. I read it in my second grade class. About a boy and his brother basically getting into trouble or adventures, and silly things happen to them, and it's just a lot of fun. Let's see. We've got Old Haunts, EJ Copperman. I don't want to say their name wrong, but their cozy mystery series was amazing too, because it's about a woman who also opens up a B&B, and solves mysteries. But this time she has two ghosts that live in her B&B, and they help her solve the mysteries, and they're very snarky and fun. So I really like that series. Okay, let's see what else. Of course, we got a barbarian book in there. The Bridge Kingdom is amazing. If you haven't checked it out, it's a really great fantasy romance. Shadow and Bone, I really enjoyed this year. This is the first time I got a chance to read it. I watched the TV show first, and I really wanted to see what was going to happen next, and so I checked it out. YA adventure fantasy story. We've got Slewfoot, which was amazing. Basically, a woman is dealing with the loss of her husband, and her brother-in-law is trying to cause her trouble, and she is also dealing with this demon that she happens to find in a cave, and it's pretty creepy at the beginning. I just love it, and I love the character development through the book. Verity, which is my most recent Colleen Hoover book. I don't read Colleen Hoover very much, but I really enjoyed Verity. I thought it was absolutely insane. Basically, this woman is a ghostwriter for another author who had an accident, and her husband hires her, and then she has like romantic entanglements with the author's husband that she's writing for, and she's starting to think that maybe the author is moving when she's supposed to be immobile, and like a bunch of mystery happens, and it's absolutely insane. Here's a Carne, like I was talking to you about this earlier, amazing fantasy series about a girl who ends up in a different timeline or a different reality, and she learns more about the world and how to use magic, and there's dragons, and a beautiful YA fantasy story. The Mistake is a hockey romance. I loved it. It's a bunch of fluff and kind of like a guilty pleasure, but it was sweet and I liked it. One of my favorites of the year. I happened to read two Changeling stories, which is another thing that I'm always on the lookout. I love like legends based on fate. I thought I had read three, but I can only see two on my list. One was the little darlings. I think it was up earlier in the list, and that was a really spooky story about this woman who has twins, and I think it was twins anyway. It's been a while, and she realizes that they get swapped out, and she's trying her hardest to get her babies back, but then people also think she's crazy, that they think that she's trying to harm her babies, and they try and put her in the hospital. It's just, it's like, is she going a little bit mad, or is this really what's happening? And then The Guest is also a changeling story about a girl who is looking for, or she wants to get rid of, I think she wants to get rid of her brother because he's annoying, and then she does, and then she goes to try and save her brother, and she has to go and through the Feyland basically, and a bunch of crazy stuff happens, and she's got some helpers. But this is also why I picked it up at a book fair, and I really liked it. I thought it was great. 5-star from me. And if you have any other changeling stories that you would recommend, please tell me, because I love hearing and reading changeling stories. We've got lots of horror. I want to read more horror this year. I've been more like mystery and cozy mystery this year. Spooksville, anything Christopher Pike and Spooksville. Like Spooksville was one of my childhood reads, and I had to read it again. So, okay, now this is like, okay, oh no, I wish it wasn't like covering it up. Maybe I can click on it. So this one right here, Garden of Thorns and Light, is actually supposed to be a continuation. I thought it was only a single like book, but it was an amazing adventure, and basically this girl finds, I don't want to give away too much, but this girl has an encounter with a fae, and she discovers more about herself, and she's a very different kind of person, and her grandma basically teaches her about herself, and there's a romance, and it's very exciting, and I could probably describe it better, but it's been a minute since I read that one too. If you're interested in hearing more about it, let me know, because I would love to talk more about it. I'm just disappointed that it's been a while since the first book has been out, and I'm waiting for the sequel because it leaves you on this huge cliffhanger. This one right here, Anne Charles, I don't think people talk about this series enough. I just discovered it because it was free on Audible. It's Nearly Departed in Deadwood, and it follows a realtor who just moves to Deadwood, South Dakota, and she moves in with her twin children with her aunt, and basically she is trying to get her footing, and she has a lot of different things that happen to her. Initially it starts out with paranormal and ghosts, but it gets really crazy, and at first I was thinking this is like a cozy romance or cozy mystery with romance elements inside of it. I wouldn't call it cozy romance. I meant to say I'd call it cozy mystery with some romantic elements, and some gruesome little tidbits of horror sometimes, gruesome imagery sometimes. And then it's not completely cozy when I got through more of the series. There are some really hilarious characters in here. Some of my favorite characters of the year. And I think, because I'm on the 11th book now, I think it's actually still continuing. And if I were to compare it to anything else, like if you read True Blood, I feel like you would really enjoy the Deadwood series by Anne Charles, because there's a lot of paranormal stuff that happens in it. And it doesn't have vampires, it doesn't have werewolves as of yet, but I'm on the 11th book, and like I was saying, there's a lot of paranormal stuff that's happening, and it's just a lot of fun. And I feel like this series needs a lot more appreciation than it has gotten so far. Well, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, so I hope that maybe I can convince some of you guys to read it, and maybe I'll do an individual video on it a little bit later. I've been really enjoying this series too. It's just a cozy mystery. It's a little bit cheesy, but basically it follows Jane Frost, the daughter of Jack Frost, and she solves mysteries, and she's a winter elf, and her uncle is Saint Nick. Another book series for kids that is really fun is Mercy Watson. She's a pig, and she gets into a lot of different trouble. She's hilarious, and I think the book and the illustrations are hilarious as well. Okay, what else do we got here? Brian Freeman is a very talented author. I really enjoy his mysteries as well as mystery suspense. Very gruesome. Things happen to people, and he's a detective, and he solves it. And then we've got Stolen Tongues, which I really liked. Stolen Tongues. I read it on a vacation with my husband, and when we were up in a B&B cabin, and I thought it was very suspenseful, and it caused a lot of intrigue, and the descriptions were amazing. I just wasn't entirely 100% sold on how it ended, but I don't know. I don't know how it could have ended, or how I would have wanted it to end any better. But if you guys have seen any other books in here that you're like interested in me talking about, please do leave a comment down below, because I have been reading like nonstop. I wish I could like individually go through and talk about everyone, but a couple years ago I was doing like weekly vlogs, and not very many people were checking them out. But I'm hoping that maybe I just need to keep posting and people will check them out. This one was a lot of fun. The Accidental Alchemist, a cozy mystery about a gargoyle thing that comes to life. And yeah, that was fun. Oh, Swamp Secrets. That was a favorite this for the summer. I just love the vibes of it. It was taking place in like a swamp. And yeah, it's like a dark romance kind of a thing. Just quickly looking and seeing again. If I can find that book that I was telling you about, like the other Changeling book, should be coming up earlier in this. In there it is, Little Darlings, Melanie Golding. I thought I would go back and check it out because it was pretty good. And anything by Catherine Ryan Howard, very suspenseful, and I love the twists. This is about someone who ended up being murdered, and there was a lot of twists in this one too. She writes a lot of really good stories. A couple years ago I read Distress Signals, and it's stuck with me ever since. So I highly recommend that author as well. Okay, so like I said, if you are interested in a more in-depth review of any of these books, please leave me a message down below and I will get back to you. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a happy new year.